Hey guys, hey guys, happy Hanukkah to all the Jewish people out there. For everyone else, happy holidays. I am sorry about not being able to do the live stream yesterday. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get my laptop to cooperate. Luckily, it was the first night of Hanukkah last night, and I got this MacBook Air. So now I can do live streams again. Here I am. Today we are going to be reading from my most recently published novel, Was I Ever Normal? We're going to be reading Lost in the Wrong Reality, chapter 25. We last left Cassie in chapter 24 after she had started school at the High School of the Arts and was vomiting up all her food, drinks, and meds. At her doctor's appointment, Dr. Kimmons confronted her about all the purging and pulled her mom in, where they made new house rules to stop the eating disorder behavior. Hi, Vivian. Hi, Kathy. We'll continue from here. The downhill slide continued on as I figured out ways to get past these new house rules around bathroom use. I would ride my bike around after dinner and throw out my half-digested meal in public bathrooms. Once again, I was eating less. I had restricted myself to a 900 calorie a day diet. This time, I had started going to pro-Anna sites. They taught you tips on how to fake out your parents and make it look like you were actually eating when you were really just moving food around your plate or dropping it into napkins and stuffing it in your pockets to dispose of later on. Soon, the combination of my starving body and lack of medications in my bloodstream had my brain misbehaving again. The voices were constantly going at it again. It got so bad that when the voices started commanding me to hurt myself, it was too hard to resist, and I was swamped with a storm of suicidal and self-injurious thoughts and commands. I managed to offset the commands and thoughts for a little while. I tried to keep myself busy with things I once enjoyed, but nothing seemed as fun as it used to be. I managed to put a plastic smile on my face and pretend I was having a good time. It was almost enough to trick myself. Almost. It was enough to get me to hang on until that extra few weeks, until I could perform in my second play of the school year, Hamlet. My focus was shot, but somehow I managed to drag together some remnants of it in order to pull off a pretty convincing performance in the play and in life. After the last performance of the play, I lost all drive to fight off the voices. I stopped completing most assignments for school. I stopped going to all the classes. I wouldn't be able to hear the teachers' voices. Over the mess of angry voices that only I heard. The commands of the voices became so compelling that I felt physically sick when I didn't complete the tasks they set out for me. I decided to try talking to the school psychologist. Her name was Diane. The only problem was that Diane was never available when I needed help. I would end up sitting in the hall outside her door, waiting to talk to her. I would usually be working so hard to not to verbally respond to the voices that I would lose track of time and miss several classes in a row. I had started to pick up little pieces of broken glass bottles that I'd found on the ground during my bike rides. I would carry the glass around in my pocket of my puffy gold winter jacket that I loved so much because my dad had given it to me. I loved the way wearing it made me feel like I was getting a big hug from my dad. Skipping school had once seemed like something I would never do. Other kids skipped school, but not me, not Cassie, the straight A student who listened to the teachers and did everything they asked. But I was no longer that Cassie. I was becoming someone I didn't recognize, someone who didn't turn in homework, someone who didn't pay attention in class. I didn't like who I was becoming, but I didn't know how to climb back up the slippery slope that I was sliding down. One day in May of ninth grade, I found myself once again sitting outside the school psychologist's office, plagued by screaming voices telling me to do things I really didn't want to do. They wanted me to cut myself again, with the stash of glass sitting in my jacket pocket. I was so scared that I would end up cutting too deep. And besides, I hated cutting. It was dirty, it was messy, and it freaked me out. I wanted to get help. I wanted someone to listen to me. I wanted a kind voice to give me advice and reassurance. I wanted someone to help me feel less alone and less scared. The problem was that no one like this was ever available in my life. Come back after lunch. We'll talk then, Diane told me. I nodded as she closed the doors to our office back up. Then I looked at my watch. It was 10 o'clock. Lunch was almost 3 hours away. I knew I couldn't last that long. Slumping down against the wall, I put my head on my hands and tried to let myself cry, to let off some of the tension building up higher and higher inside me. But I couldn't even manage to cry. I was too far gone even for that. Standing up, I walked toward the girls' bathroom. But moments later, I noticed that I was not in the girls' bathroom. I was no longer in the West Hall of HSA. I was no longer in school at all. I was standing at least 2 blocks away when I looked around. I couldn't place exactly where I was. Everything looked wrong to me. It looked like I was in a foreign place that I'd never been. But in my head, I knew I was someplace that I was supposed to recognize. A feeling of fear swelled up from within me. My breaths were quickening into little puffs. I stood frozen on the sidewalk until I realized that all the drivers in the cars driving by me were staring at me and getting ready to call the police on me. But I just knew. I wasn't sure why they were going to call the police on me, but I just knew that I had been very bad and that everyone knew it. My breaths heaved in and out even faster. I turned my gaze down toward the sidewalk and speed walked in a random direction. I didn't know if I was going back to my school I didn't know how far away from my school I was. I just knew that I couldn't let the drivers look into my eyes and see the evil that burned within them. If they saw my eyes, they would definitely know to call 911 because Fellingham had put the evil sign on my pupils. My heart was alternating between a wild dancing beat and getting stuck in my throat. She walked along the sidewalk, afraid for her life and sanity. She didn't look up at all, afraid of the passerbyers would identify her as the evil girl she was. Her nerves were thrumming with so much zing, she was on the verge of exploding. She knew she was in trouble, but she didn't know where she was or how to escape. You must cut. You must cut soon. I'm hungry for your blood. Feed me and I'll protect you. I won't let you go to jail. Feed me and you'll be safe. I'll take the spell off your brain and you won't be lost anymore. You know you want that. Just feed me and you'll be fine. This is the mess. Another fine mess you've gotten into. A messy mess. A big mess. You're a mess. Just one big mess. Putting my fingers in my ears as I speed walked down the sidewalk, I tried to block out the chorus of confusing voices, but they overpowered my fingers and invaded even my very thoughts. Every time I tried to think of a way to get back to school, they snatched the thoughts out of my head and out of my memory. Hi, Jeremy. Nice to see you here. Just then I looked down and saw another dagger-sharp piece of broken beer bottle. Glass, sharp object. Glass, sharp object. Glass, sharp object. Find it, cut. Find it, cut, cut. Cutting helps, it does. No, it doesn't, I whispered back, making sure that I was barely moving my lips. No sense in attracting extra attention from the staring drivers. Why, yes, it does. It makes you feel better for a little bit. Focus, focus, focus. Pick it up. I reached down and pocketed the glass. There was no use in trying to argue with the voices. They were too strong and too powerful and too dangerous. My feet pounded along the sidewalk over and over again. I walked really fast in a quick but even rhythm, breathing in the fresh spring air, my gold puffy jacket waving open in the slight breeze. I stared at the ground, trying not to look at the drivers who were spying on me. It seemed like I'd been walking for a few days. By the time my legs carried me behind the dumpster. No, it hasn't been days. Time is just moving slowly because of this hell I'm trapped in, I whispered to myself in a futile attempt to orient myself to reality. Another car drove by, just as I was diving behind the dumpster. I knew the person in the car had seen me, and my heart jumped, froze, and then pounded around wildly, like it was trying to escape my chest or something. Part of me wanted to just come back out from behind the dumpster and give myself out to the drivers. Tell them to go ahead and call 911 on me. Tell them to send me away to jail. I wanted to do anything except be where I was, right there, in the present moment, not stuck in the living nightmare of voices and broken thoughts. I'm being forced to slice into my own flesh with dirty glass I found on the ground. Stay with it. Come on, stay with it. You're slipping. Don't slip. Catch yourself. Stay with it. Stay with it. Stay with it. Glass, sharp object. Glass, sharp object. Breathe. Keep breathing. You're forgetting to breathe. Damn it. I listened to the voices and forced myself to take a deep breath in. Glass, sharp object. Glass, sharp object. You've got it. You've got the glass. It's safe. Safe in your pocket. Cut. Safe. Cut to be safe. Cut. Safe. Cut to save yourself. The voices pounded down on me like hail, storming down on my head and small body. My eyes and thoughts were fluttering around like an epileptic hummingbird. I was getting dizzy. I felt wild. I felt like I had no focus, nothing to ground myself with. My breathing was jagged and uneven, like the glass in my pocket. Glass, sharp object. Sharp glass, glass, glass object. Object sharp. No, no, no. Glass, yes, glass, sharp object. You're okay, as long as you have it. Glass, sharp object. Glass, sharp object. I started to feel like I was going to be sick everywhere, without even needing to jam anything down my throat. Before I could think about it anymore, I pulled up my t-shirt, pressed the pointiest part of the glass into the skin under my training bra, and dragged down in a quick, smooth slice. I saw the skin separate, and then blood begin to well up and dribble down along my stomach. Just then, I heard the footsteps of a person. I didn't know if it was someone that was specifically looking for me or not, but either way, I was scared. I yanked my t-shirt back down, forced my breathing to return to normal, and forced myself to pretend that I was normal. I walked away, whispering to myself, breathe, walk, pretend normal, pretend normal, pretend to be normal. The scar the glass made on my chest never fully healed. I can still see the white puckered line right above my brow line to this very day. When I walked back out from behind the dumpster, my legs were wobbly. My chest on my left side burned from where I'd invaded the flesh with broken glass. But I also recognized exactly where I was. I was about 2 blocks from school. If I turned right at the end of the street and then just walked straight, I would find myself back at the west building of HSA. I was amazed at the fact that I hadn't recognized the street earlier. I was scared too. Ignoring the sticky wetness and the pain on my left side, I walked back toward the school. The broken glass weighed heavily in my pocket, but I was too scared of what might happen if I got rid of it. Back at school, things seemed normal again. Nobody seemed to have realized that I'd been missing. Because my senses of reality and time were so warped, I had no idea how long I'd been gone for, but I knew that I was in no shape to handle class. So I just sat outside of Diane's office and spent the rest of the day waiting for her to help me. She never came out to talk to me. Time started to behave oddly. Hours, days, and weeks turned liquid and melted into each other in a blur of scared, panicky feelings, confusion, and stir-fried thoughts. Days would pass and only be remembered as broken fragments and snapshots of sensations. There was the jitteriness, my breaths coming in too shallow, feeling as unsteady as a newborn calf. It all mushed together. But somehow, through all that, I was still able to pretend to be fine. Enough of the time that no one thought there was anything more going on inside me besides severe anxiety and depression. I felt far away from everyone, like they were on one level and I was on another. The depression had quietly ebbed back into my life while no one was watching. It got to the point where I rarely even wanted to speak. I began to stop talking at all at school. I closed myself in. I didn't feel the need to speak. I figured that people didn't really want to listen to me anyways, since they didn't actually care about what I wanted to say. What was the point of even saying it in the first place anyway? My mom and dad were quietly beginning to understand that there was true pain behind my mask of blank looks and unfocused eyes. They began to question Sandra and Bailey Hill Hospital's attempts to brainwash them into seeing me as a passive aggressive and violent borderline personality patient, trying to manipulate everyone around me. Despite that, they had no idea how to help me. In school, I learned that the Greeks thought that pain enlightens you and that suffering makes you feel more alive. I disagreed. I didn't feel enlightened or alive. And that is the end of chapter 25 of Was I Ever Normal? Any questions, anyone? So this came out of this book. I have 2 copies of this. This is a brand new copy, Was I Ever Normal? And then this is my first copy I got of Was I Ever Normal? Oh, thanks, Cassie. I'm glad you liked it. It really puts you in the head of someone with schizoaffective disorder in this one. Thanks, Vivian. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to capture the way when you have schizoaffective disorder, everything gets fragmented. You agree, Vivian? I'm glad I got that through. That's how my brain gets when I'm in a psychotic episode. It took me a year to write this book. Holding up to that. It took me a year to write this book, and then another 6 months to edit it, and then it took me 6 months to find a publisher. And then once I found the publisher, I had to work with the editors at the publishing company for another whole year before it was ready to come out. So altogether, this whole project took about 3 years. And now I'm working on Saving Destiny, which is the other book I read aloud. You have similar issue, Kathy? I didn't know that about you. I'm really glad you shared that with me. We have something in common. It's such a hard thing to deal with because everything gets so confusing. You don't know what's a symptom, what's reality, or anything. Thanks, Jeremy. I appreciate that. Yeah. And Jeremy, I'm also gonna type in a link for you, Jeremy, to my blog. Hang on a second. I did sort the latest healthcare scare out, sort of. It turned out the reason my bags weren't running was because of faulty tubing. There was a lot number of tubing that was faulty, and it just wasn't running the pumps right. But they sent us brand new tubing, and now my TPN's running okay. Hang on, I'm just gonna put in. Hang on. I'm just gonna put in the link to my website, my blog for you, Jeremy. I even have chapters for sale on that. On that. I even I even have chapters for sale on that site. You can buy them for $2.99 each, and they're like 15 to 20 page chapters. Right? Thank God. Thank God. Praise God. Praise the Lord. I know. Because that was really scary. I was really sick when that TPN tubing wasn't working. I literally couldn't pick my head off the pillow. I was so sick. Well, I think I'm going to stop here and finish this video here. Thanks, everyone. Next time, I'm going to be reading from Saving Destiny. If you're interested in reading chapters from Saving Destiny, you can go to thechronicallyalive.org and buy some of the chapters. Like I said, they're only $2.99. Oh, thanks, Vivian. Happy holidays to you. You can go to the chronicallyalive.org and purchase some chapters. I've been having trouble selling them, and I would really love to sell some of them. They're really good chapters. I completely redid Saving Destiny, so it's all new material that's never before been read. I'd love it if you guys could buy some of the chapters. It would really make me happy. So if you want to check it out, that'd be really cool. They're arranged. I have the first 19 chapters of Saving Destiny all on there. I have the first 7 chapters of Was I Ever Normal on there, and the first 6 chapters of Chronically Alive, a Memoir of Sick on there. And then I have chapter 1 of an alternate version of Saving Destiny on there. So if you guys can check that out, I'd really appreciate it. Love you guys so much. Take care.